What's up, drumheads? Last year, I made a video reviewing the Alesis Strata Prime, an e-kit that really changed my mind regarding my hatred for electronic kits. And to be honest, I've actually been playing that kit just as much, if not more, than my acoustic kit. Oh my God, get out of here with that Phil Collins crap.
You started
I only
it,
have
okay?
2 toms,
Okay.
on and on.
This isn't
about
even
how-
a fair.
With that being said, Alesis was kind enough to sponsor this video and send me over their brand new Alesis Nitro Ultimate electronic kit. This kit is a brand new addition to fill out their line of e-kits and kind of bridge that gap between the Nitro series and the Strata series kits. Now, I don't know if I'm the best candidate to review this kit, only because I already own the Strata Prime. And like going from the Prime to the Nitro, it's kind of like going from a Ferrari to like a Toyota Corolla. You know, the Corolla gets the job done, but it's not as fun. But I'm gonna do my best to have an unbiased opinion. I think also going into this, just kind of realizing who this kit is for. But let's get into it. This is a 9-piece electronic drum kit. As for the drums themselves, it comes with 3 8-inch dual zone toms, 1 10-inch dual zone snare, and it's kind of deep like a normal snare would be, which I really like. And it also comes with the 8-inch kick tower, which is way better than kind of like the rubber Nitro Max kit. The drums also come with tunable mesh heads, so you can kind of tighten them or loosen them however you see fit. I actually like to crank the snare and then loosen the floor tom. To me, that kind of gives it more of the natural feel of a real acoustic kit. As far as the cymbals, you get 2 dual zone crashes, 1 dual zone ride, and 1 dual zone hi-hat. At first, I couldn't really tell the difference between the hi-hat and the other cymbals, but after some close investigation, I found out what is different. The hi-hat has a big hole, and the crashes have a smaller hole. Also on the bottom, the hi-hat has this like rubber felt thing. And the rest of the cymbals have this kind of dome shape with this notch that actually locks into the cymbal stands. That way they don't rotate on you and they stay facing the right direction. And also the ride cymbal, like they say these are dual zone, but I noticed if you play the ride on the top and you hit it harder, you get a bell sound. So, I mean, I guess it's the same zone, but if you hit it with a different velocity, then you get a different sound trigger. Another thing regarding the hi-hat is the kit does not come with a hi-hat stand. So that's gonna be another purchase that you will have to make in order to complete this setup. Cheapest hi-hat stand I found online is $80. So you kind of have to factor that price in when buying this kit. But I will say, having an actual hi-hat stand, as opposed to the hi-hat mounted on the rack with, you know, that little hi-hat pedal thing, I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan. So these hi-hats come with Alesis's little trigger system. Slide that onto the hi-hat rod, and there's basically this little knob that goes up and down. I don't know if it uses the same magnetic sensors that the Strata Prime uses to kind of detect how open or closed the hi-hats are, but when I tested it out, it seems very responsive. Like you can open the hi-hats a little bit, or you can have them all the way open, or you can close them. And there's no accidental triggering or anything like that. And also this type of hi-hat mounting system is much more secure than, you know, what's on the Nitro Max. What I noticed while playing the Nitro Max is the hi-hat kind of flops around a bit. You can kind of tighten it down if you want, but you still get a little bit of that wobble.
No. Okay.
So this version mounted to a real hi-hat stand seems to work way better. I did notice one thing though, is if you don't have your hi-hat rod tightened all the way, then the hi-hats can kind of rotate. You just need to make sure that the hi-hat rod is tightened down all the way and you'll be good. As for the hardware that comes with this kit, it's a 4-post steel rack and it comes with all the locking clamps that you need. And I actually really love how Alesis puts these little notches in their rack so that when you assemble it, there's no twisting or turning. I remember I had a Gibraltar rack back in the day, and you need to make sure that those curved pieces are like dead level, or else your rack will be all kinds of twisty turny. So having those little notches takes out all the guesswork, keeps the rack locked in place. Very nice.
It's nice.
I will say, inserting the tom mounts into the rack clamps is super difficult. But then I kind of realized like that's a good thing actually, because when you clamp them down, they're so solid and they're not gonna rotate. You kind of rather have that. You'd rather have them be tight and secure instead of, easy to assemble. And then when you hit the toms, they just like flop right over. You don't want that. Another nice little touch is they include these little Velcro cable management ties. So if you have OCD like I do, then you can hide those cables nice and neatly tucked away. This kit does come with a kick drum pedal. The beater has a felt and a rubber side. You can adjust the tension. It's your standard entry-level pedal. It gets the job done. One thing I will say that kind of threw me off is how the beater locking nut is like kind of on the side where your foot is instead of on top, which I felt like was a bit more difficult to access. I guess it makes sense. If you're putting it together like at the drum set, then the nut is facing you. So I don't know. As for the module, it comes with 52 kits. 36 are factory kits and 16 are user kits. So you can customize whatever kit you want using their sound library, which actually contains 640 sounds, which I believe are all recordings from BFD drums, which are super high quality drum samples. The module comes with a 1/4-inch main out for amps or an interface, an 1/8-inch stereo headphone out, and also comes with USB MIDI input. So you can plug this into your computer, run it through GarageBand or Pro Tools, and have it automatically register those MIDI inputs. One of my favorite features actually is the Bluetooth connectivity. So you can connect your phone to the module via Bluetooth, open up Spotify, and just start jamming to whatever song you want. Which seems like such a simple feature, but I feel like that's probably one of the best features of this kit, because most people who probably want to start learning the drums probably want to learn like a song from one of their favorite bands or whatever. And I think that's a great way that they can easily do that. There's also a recording function, so you can push record, play something super sick, listen back, realize that you actually suck, which is why you should probably use the metronome feature, which is also on this module. They actually have this same feature on the Nitro Max, and I thought it was really cool actually, because it actually shows you if you're like a little bit ahead of the beat or a little behind the beat, and you can visually see, and it's a great practice tool. I personally would never use that feature because I don't use the metronome. And one last small thing about this module is it has this phone holder on there, which at first you'd kind of be like, okay, whatever. But with the Bluetooth function, you're using your phone with it a lot. And I actually found myself, when I use my Strata Prime, like setting the phone down on the module screen because there's nowhere to put my freaking phone. So just that small, stupid detail is very thoughtful. Also, as I was unpacking the module, I found this little flyer, which actually gives you 90 free days of Drumeo, where you can access tons of lessons. They even have their own songs portion where you can play along to your favorite songs. There's a metronome, you can slow the songs down, you can speed them up, you can loop sections. It's almost as if this is a paid ad from Drumeo. You guys didn't pay me for this. You're not paying me for this. The Nitro Ultimate retails for $899, which again kind of bridges that gap between the Nitro Pro and the Strata Core. I think it's great how Alesis is doing this sort of tiered option for their customers. They want to make electronic drums accessible to everybody. So like it starts with the Nitro Max, then you have the Nitro Pro for $699, then the Nitro Ultimate for $899, the Strata Club for $1599, the Strata Core for $2,000, and then the Strata Prime for $3,500. It gets pretty expensive. So this kit is basically an upgraded version of the Nitro Pro. You get the extra cymbal, you get a standalone hi-hat, which I think is a huge upgrade. Using that freaking pedal thing is no bueno. But then again, it's like you have to buy a hi-hat stand. So I guess for whoever's interested in buying this kit, you really have to weigh your options. It's like, do I need the hi-hat stand? Do I need the extra cymbal? And then if not, Alesis has a cheaper option for you. The person who's probably getting this kit is like unsure if they want to invest a lot of money into the drums. Maybe they're just starting out. They don't want the cheapest version. They also don't want the most expensive version. I feel like this kit is that perfect middle ground to where you get something of great quality that you can practice on, learn how to play, use it for a long time until you finally get to that point to where you're like, all right, we need to upgrade. And then either get an acoustic kit if you can, or the Strata Prime. Strata Prime's sick. Will I be using this kit? Probably not. Only because I have the Strata Prime.